Good morning to everybody. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to go through a medical aid. This is a very particular medical aid. It is the Basima medical aid. It's designed for the building and construction industry. So there's no other industry that has a medical aid similar to this. One of the big things about this medical aid is that they're not forced to cover, they're exempt from covering the PMBs. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go into the presentation. So the first option we're going to look at is called the basic option. We're just going to touch over the benefits of this medical aid, and then we'll go into a few of the benefits in a little more detail that would cover the chronic side of things and why they don't have PMBs on there. So in terms of the annual limits, you'd see that they have things called the LifeSense HIV program, which we'll talk about. There's still COVID that affects individuals. So there's unlimited treatment in terms of COVID, and then you have all your other general benefits. One of the things that stands out with this particular medical aid is the hospital limit. You have R1 million per family per year. And then you have your day-to-day expenses, which is 22,200 per family per year. And then your chronic medical limit is 13,300 per year. Now, it's important, we've made reference to chronic a few times. So in terms of the PMBs, PMB stands for Prescribed Minimum Benefits. Why they applied for exemption is because this is a low-cost fund. So they apply to the government, and how PMBs work is every medical aid has to cover PMBs. So these are a set of illnesses or diseases that are covered irrespective of the status of your health. You will be covered for these in hospital. So what medical aids traditionally do is they would allocate a lump sum. So before you even start paying for the medical aid, they would allocate it's plus or minus 800 Rand per month. Basima, being low cost, has applied for an exemption. They were granted the exemption, and it's the only medical aid to have that exemption. And the reason they did this is to keep the cost down. We'll go into the cost at the end of the presentation, but you will see why that makes such a big difference. Now, in saying that they exempt from the PMBs, it doesn't mean that they don't cover the PMBs. And this is where the chronic medication limits come into play. So they do cover all of the chronics. Now, you get preventative care benefits. So these are things like conservative dentistry for beneficiaries under 6 years. So for kids, they covered 100% at the Basima tariff, which is generally, you'd see the Basima tariff throughout this presentation, is generally what government legislates. Now, there's also mental health benefits in terms of a clinical psychologist consultation per beneficiary per year and assistance. I'm going to skim through a few of these here. These are pretty standard. So hospitalization, again, we said at R1 million. If there's no pre-authorizations, now if there's something wrong and you don't get the authorization to go in, there will be 1,000 Rand levy. Now, everything that's covered in hospital is almost everything that you could experience once you're in hospital. Some of the things to point out would be things like your MRI and CT scans, your GPs and special visits within hospitals, things like your radiology, blood transfusions, all of these are covered in hospital. There's things like private nursing, and again, you'll see a bit later in the presentation. Basima has partnered with Netcare 911, and they are one of the biggest service providers in the country in terms of your emergency transportation. Okay, so In terms of medication, you'd see that acute medication, or what we would refer to as prescribed medication, is covered. The member gets up to 7,500. This is covered at 80% of the cost. If there's more than one member, these are the different scales in terms of how they would be covered. There is cover for over-the-counter medications as well. It's not very big. It's 245 Rand per script, but it does count towards medication. Right, now you'll see it goes in terms of your out of hospital, you have benefits for doctor, GP consultations. There's non-surgical procedures that can be done in doctors' rooms that would be covered. There's dentistry that's attached to the Besima tariffs. There's optical, so in terms of your eye tests. Now, this is also always a controversial area where people want to go and get very special looking glasses. That's obviously not allowed. You'd have limits in terms of your frames. And then there's a limitation in terms of the family per year. But obviously any surgeries associated with that is covered. Okay, and then it goes through the other services, and what's interesting with the Besima product is you have people like naturopaths and homeopaths that are covered. Not all medical aids cover that there. There's chiropractors that's covered at 100% of the Besima tariff. And a very interesting one is the traditional healer. So as long as it's a recognized traditional healer, they would be covered for a value of 1,700 Rand per year. Okay, so I mentioned chronic services quite a bit, and this is one of the services now, bearing in mind that they don't have the PMBs. You have the managed care programs and services, and this is the chronic medicine management. So just as an introduction, so Besima offers a chronic medicine benefit to fund medicines used for treatment of chronic conditions. A chronic condition can be something where there's ongoing treatment required, and examples of these are things like your asthma, your high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, mellitus. Now, these would also be considered a PMB in most cases. So while the other medical aids would cover them under PMBs, Besima would cover them under the chronic section. So there's a whole process to apply, and I'm going to go through the infographic. So patients will consult a GP traditionally for a chronic medication. If they diagnose with a chronic condition, then the doctor will apply for the chronic benefit on behalf of the patient. And then the patient will just go through, they would normally load your scripts at the pharmacy, and you'd receive your medication from the pharmacy. And then the chronic authorization letter sent to the doctor and the patient. And if all is accepted, then the patient-specific chronic treatment will be authorized. Just a few interesting points on this page. Formulary, these are some of the terms that you will hear when it comes to chronic meds. A formulary is a list of affordable medicines that your doctor can prescribe for the management of the chronic condition. So the brochure, and I have no problem making this brochure available to everybody, and I'm not going to read the entire brochure, but it takes you through the process of the chronic and what gets paid and what doesn't get paid. Right, now this is the interesting one, the managed care program oncology. Now everybody knows that cancer is a very big thing in society. There's been a lot of advances in treatment, but it is still something that affects almost everybody. So what Besima has is what they call an oncology management program. So it offers members excuse me. The management program offers members diagnosed with cancer information, education, and support they need to manage their condition. So this is a very important part of cancer treatment, is more on the support and the education side. They they have the program, and individuals are required to register for the oncology program. Once you register, you have a lot of benefits that's open to you. So I'm going to just skip to the infographic as well on this one. So basically the process with this particular one is, if a patient is diagnosed with cancer, they would consult with their treating doctors, and then the doctor will advise the fund on the treatment plan. So they would then take a decision whether the individual will have to go on things like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or if it's early enough and surgery can be performed. And then they will send that treatment plan through to the oncology program. The oncology program that's kitted out with doctors that are focused on cancer would review the treatment plan, and they would make suggestions at that stage if they feel that there's other treatment, or if they feel there should be any changes to the treatment. That's where they will intervene. And then once everybody's in agreement, the patient will be registered onto the oncology program. And the treatment authorization letter would be sent to the patient and to the doctor, and then the patient would go onto the treatment from there. So what exactly is covered under the oncology benefit? You'll have things like your chemotherapy, you'll have your radiotherapy, radiologies such as the X-rays, MRIs, which are extremely costly, the CT and PET scans as well. All of that is covered under this program. If anyone's been through or know anyone that's been through the process, you could have a PET scan that could cost you about 15,000 Rand. Your MRIs can go up to about 30,000 Rand. So the costs do escalate very quickly when it comes to cancer treatment. And being on a program like this is extremely beneficial financially for any individuals. And then again, all the medicines associated with the chemotherapy, like your anti-nausea and your pain meds, and then consultations with all the various service providers that the individual will have to see. Okay, something that has been with us, especially of the South African environment for a very long time, is HIV. So BACIMA has what they call a disease management program. It's aimed essentially at the treatment of HIV, and this is a very informative document, and I just wanted to point out a few things. I mean, we've had HIV around forever, and it's still something that a lot of people just take for granted. People don't know too much about it, but there has been some very good advances in the treatment of HIV. It's no longer the so-called, in inverted commas, death sentence that it used to be initially when it was discovered. So just a recap, what is HIV? HIV is a human immunodeficiency virus, and it's contracted with direct contact with body fluids from a person living with HIV, and has a detectable viral load. So when they talk about a detectable viral load, that means that there's enough of the virus in the person's body to be detected. And this can be transferred through fluids like the blood, semen, rectal, vaginal fluids, breast milk, a very big one, and use of infected needles and syringes. And okay, how do you know if you have HIV? The testing has become very quick, very easy. They have what they would now refer to as a rapid test, which is just a simple finger prick. If anyone's been to wellness days and did the HIV test, you would know how simple and how quick it is. Once there's an indication on one of those tests, on a rapid test, that the individual is positive, they would need to go for a more detailed test where they would draw blood, and this is called an ELISA test. That test is done in labs. Okay, if an individual is positive, there is a treatment that they would go on immediately, and this is the treatment known as antiretrovirals. So in days past, you had a bucket load of pills to take, and now they're actually down to single tablet treatments. So this becomes like just something that you would take like a chronic medication. So in terms of the ARVs actually stop the virus from replicating, or they stop them from multiplying in your body. So it prevents the virus from destroying the immune system. That's what the ARVs are designed to do. And then if that's left unchecked, the HIV virus will attack the immune system. And I'm sure everybody knows what the CD4 counts are. Everybody refers to that there when they're talking about HIV. And then that will drop. And what happens in the case of HIV is when your immune system drops, it's not the HIV that actually kills you, but it could be a related illness or disease, and the very common ones are things like pneumonia and tuberculosis. Okay, so when starting ARV treatment, so if your viral load is high, this is what I mentioned earlier in terms of the detectable viral load. The ARV that actually stops the virus from replicating. And the interesting thing is when you reach that stage, they call it undetectable. And if it's undetectable, it means that you cannot transmit HIV. So especially in terms of pregnant mothers, that is why it's extremely important that people get diagnosed as quickly as possible, that it's no more taboo like it used to be, that they get treated and they can live a absolutely normal life thereafter. Okay, I think in terms of share your status, that's also very important. We've got to change that culture where everything is kept a secret now. Right, in terms of the actual LifeSense program, so it's similar to all the other programs that BASIMA have. So you'll have access to HIV counselors, case managers. There's a treatment program, an education program around the whole thing in terms of medication, in terms of your lifestyle, in terms of management. So this goes way past just treating the disease, but actually assist you in terms of integrating back into society. Sorry, I'm just going to skip through all of that. Right, we mentioned earlier that the BASIMA does have a partnership with the Netcare Group, and this is a 24-hour emergency. So when there's an emergency, all you've got to do is dial 082 911, and you'll have access to all of the emergency vehicles. And that includes air support as well. The nice things about the 911 benefit is there's a health online emergency telephonic medical advice information. So this is available 24 hours. There's qualified nurses that run this whole program. So if it's something where you feel, okay, you don't have to go to a doctor, you can get online assistance by qualified people. And if they feel you need to go to a doctor thereafter, they will advise. Okay, I just mentioned this here, that you have the response by road and air, and there is just by dialing 082 911, they will assist you with ambulance authorization. Okay, I'm not going to go through fraud. Now, the part that everybody wants to see. Okay, with any medical aid, there are obviously certain exclusions. I'll just run through one or two of them. For example, if there's a third-party payment, if I think the easiest one is, and I did do the session before on COIDA. If there's a workman's compensation claim, for example, COIDA takes precedence over the medical aid claims. So what would happen in that instance is you'd have a COIDA claim, and if an individual did use the medical aid, they shouldn't get enriched by medical aid. And what they should in fact do is inform the company, and then COIDA will then reimburse the medical aid. So that's one such. In terms of an illness or injury sustained by an individual where there's a failure to carry out instructions of a medical practitioner, for example, if somebody has medication that they were supposed to take, they didn't take it, and they get more sick, it can be refuted as a claim. If there's willful self-inflicted injury, that could be another exclusion as well. So the list of exclusions does go high, but these are in line with all of the medical aids. And as I said, I will share that document with all of you. Sorry, I'm just going to scroll straight down now to the costing of the product. Okay, so how Basima works a bit differently to your traditional medical aid. There's one contribution and it covers the entire family. So all natural born or adopted, legally adopted kids are covered under the plan. And you'd see that it's quite an affordable plan. Now, being a medical aid that's focused on construction, they looked at the wage bands. So we know that a lot of individuals are paid on a weekly basis, and they looked at different types of wage bands in terms of their earning. They put on a full contribution. So you see for the lowest sector, you could pay about 425 Rand and 40 cents per family. If the company contributed 50% and the individual 50%, that would go down even further. I'm just going to scroll down to the monthly contributions. It'll make a little more sense on the monthly. So, for example, if you had an individual that earned below 4,679 Rand, their contribution will be 1,701 Rand. Again, if that was split with the company, you're looking at about 850 per individual. It is a lot of money. Medical aids are not cheap, but if you consider what the comparative to this, a traditional medical aid would cost about 3 times more than what this would cost. If we look at the middle of the road, we look at somebody earning between 9,000 and 11,000 Rand a month, that medical aid would be about 2,900. So this is a medical aid now for R1 million cover. It's all the benefits that we went through before. It includes all the preventative benefits, like the chronics, like the HIV intervention. And then if you look at a 50% contribution there, you're looking at 1,400. So that's where the affordability of this whole plan comes into play. I see I've got literally 5 minutes going. So somebody earning above 17,700, you're looking for a full comprehensive medical aid at about 7,040 Rand. So this is extremely affordable. And I just want to show you, they have an enhancement to the basic medical aid, which is called the Basima Plus option. So this would be for more the higher earners. It's structured along the lines of a more traditional medical aid. And if we look at the cover, you'd see that there's unlimited cover on this option. So whereas the Basima basic option had R1 million in terms of the hospitalization, here you're looking at an unlimited cover. This has a savings portion to it, and a lot of the claims are paid from the annual medical savings account. So if you look here, you see that the principal member would have a savings portion of 6,300, the adult 5,700, and child 1,500. Okay, I'm gonna skip. Sorry, I'm just trying to fight time a bit, but I'll share this document as well. And if we go through to the contributions, in terms of, there's two portions here. You'll have a risk portion, you'll have a savings portion. So this basically is for unlimited cover. You'll have a total contribution of 2,130 Rand for the principal member. You'll have 1,900 Rand for any adult member and 500 Rand for every child thereafter. So basically, for about 4,500 Rand, you can, a family with a principal, adult, and a child will have comprehensive cover. Now, this would compare to I think the upper plans of most medical aids. It's not the elite plan, but it certainly compares to the more classic plans. There's no network restrictions on either of these options, so you don't have just 5 or 6 hospitals to choose from. You can choose from any private hospitalization, and that's applicable to both the basic and the plus option. Okay, and I think that's going to be it. So you're welcome to give me a call. Byron, I don't know how, I'll just send this through to Cindy, and she can share with all of you. And you're welcome to go onto our website, here.za. We've got all the information that we just went through on screen now. And very important to bear in mind that this is for the construction industry, the plumbing industry, or any related business to construction. So as long as you're working in the construction industry, you can qualify for this option. These are designed for companies. So in terms of the basic or the plus option, we would just require you. It doesn't mean that the entire company has to take it out. You can have any number of people within the company that want to qualify for it, can take it out. We just need a letter from the company stating that they are in construction, essentially. That's the confirmation that we would need. There are waiting periods for people that are not on medical aids. There'll be a general 3-month waiting period. There's illness-specific waiting periods, but all of that there is, once we receive an application form, the process starts, and we inform the individuals of what waiting periods there might be. The quotation sent out. Once that's signed, then that's accepted, and then you're onto the Vecima platform. Okay, I think I made it just in time, Byron.
All right, thank you very much. I don't think we have any questions. If there are any last-minute questions, we'll answer as they come in. But thank you very much for joining us this morning. I think we can end off the session here. Is there any last-minute remarks you'd like to add?
No, all good from my side. I will share the documents with Cindy, and I'm sure she'll send it through to everybody. But if they need more details, they're welcome to contact her and get me.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us this morning, Herman. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. I hope everyone learned a bit and had an educational session. Thank you, everyone, and have a blessed week.
Thanks, Byron. Cheers. Bye.